turn off that noisy thing. So, staining a door. We use a water-based stain. It is my absolute favorite stain. Super eco-friendly. Simon wood stain. Absolutely love it. Love it. So, reason why we use it is dry time is 1 hour. Doesn't raise the wood grain. And it honestly kind of acts more like a dye, really. So we get a little bit more consistent. However, in order to get that consistency, we have to have a very, very, very consistent prepping base. So for instance, if you sand a little bit heavier in a spot, you may get some variation, or if you use, say, from 120 to 150 grit, just to get something that's rough out, you're gonna get variation. So, it's also finicky with moving it around while it's wet. You can easily get darker patches from your fingertips, maybe having just a little bit more stain on them. But what we like to do is I use a brush instead of a sponge, just because it gets me a more consistent finish, I feel like. Sponges sometimes get so oversaturated that they just soak up a ton of stain, and then when you go to put it on, if you push down just slightly harder, it will put a little bit more stain down than what I actually want. So I always start with the back side of the door after I've prepped it. Then I get everything. We prepped it at a different station. If you followed us before, you see we used to sand and stain in the same station. We actually changed that to speed up the process a little bit more and give us a little bit more of a quality control there. But after I get the main portion of the door, I get all my edges. I come back over my door, and I'm looking for an extremely consistent coloring throughout, and I go with the grain. And if you're wondering, the brush marks show up, they actually don't. The reason why they don't is then we take our cloths. Now this is the key. One cloth our hand goes on, and that is purely just to hold it down. We're not actually going to wipe with this guy, because, like I said, if there's any little bit of stain or anything on your hands or gloves, you're SOL. Now, I'm not going to wipe the edges, but I am going to use my towels here to turn it. Because again, we don't want to ever touch it with our hands. They tend to do it. Now, I don't wipe off the edges because I still got to get this side. So what I was noticing is if the edges are still wet, then what it does is it gives me some room to play to get a consistent finish along the edges, so we don't have any darker spots, you know, say on the left side of the edge versus the right side of the edge. But then, as I'm getting all of these edges, I can move a little bit faster and really lather it on. And that right there is the big key, right? We just want to really lather this on. Make sure every square inch is covered. And that's the other nice part, is there's actually no difference if I apply a heavy coat versus, well, I mean, if I apply a light coat, there will be a difference. But this way we can tell everybody, no matter who's staining, hey, go ahead and just really put a nice heavy coat down and make sure it looks the same. So there's always going to be some slight tonnage difference with your stains, but this way it gives us a little bit better of a one. And then, now, I get my edges. I get my edges first on this front side of the door, because it actually leaves a little bit of a mark here, and I'm going to want to wipe that out. If I were to wipe it out and then get my edges, it gets harder to wipe out this mark. But then, go. A little mark from my towel, getting my edges. It's all wiped out. Now we have as consistent of a stain that you can use. And that's how I stain my cabinet doors and make sure everything's good. Now, we don't have the hinge holes drilled on this one yet because it's a pocket door, so it needs to be extremely precise, and this is a remake, so we're just going to do it on site. We accidentally dropped the door on Friday, so I finished this up on Saturday. And then I would carry it like this. I'm always flipping it like this. I want to make sure no fuzzies or marks or anything are on my door while this stain's drying. The other benefit, 1 hour. 1 hour and I can top cut this, which means this door will be done today. Whereas with oil-based stains, we have some that you can do in an hour. I wait for 2 hours because we get what's called hazing and crackling. Then other stains that I've done, 96 hours. It takes forever to off-gas everything and then be able to put a clear coat on, and that's even with sanding sealer. This one we don't even need sanding sealer. We can go straight to clear coat, which is really, really nice. So definitely a good stain, super environmental friendly. It's safer because these can't randomly combust. And like I said, it gives you a very, very consistent, almost like a wood dye would. So you're really not going to get any more consistent of a stain. So we'll show you once it's done. We'll post a photo of it or something so you can actually see it. But that's how we stain.